Hello and welcome to the Racing Postcast, brought to you by the Racing Post, sponsored by Unibet. My name's Sam Hart, stepping in for James Stephens this week, alongside a top team to preview the weekend's action. After a week where we were meant to have some champion hurdle clues, this time around we've got some Arkle and champion chase clues potentially from Sandown, and maybe a few Grand National clues from Aintree as well, where we'll be previewing the Becher Chase. It really does feel like the Christmas period of racing has now begun. This is the meeting I always seem to think is the start of the Christmas period. And to preview the action alongside me, we have assistant betting editor here at the Racing Post, Graeme Rodway, reporter Matt Rennie, and of course from Unibet, we have Mr. Ed Nicholson. We have got plenty of racing to get through, gents, and some really quality fields to discuss. But before we do so, there was one horse last week, and people might be tired of talking about this horse on a constant basis, but I don't want to go into too much detail. However, I do want to get a quick one-word answer on where we may see Constitution Hill next. Will we see him over a hurdle? Will we see him over a fence? Or will we see him on the flat? And the man who may know a little bit more insight than most, and the man who's connected to the stable a little bit better than some of us, might be Mr. Ed Nicholson. What do we reckon, Ed?
Well, I mean, first of all, Nicky and Michael, like every owner and trainer, loves their horses, and they won't be putting Constitution Hill through it if they think his safety's in danger. I think that they'll probably go to the flat, and it'll be interesting if they go to the flat, what distance and where they go. I spoke to Nico about him being on the flat when everyone was talking about him, having speed for winning Group 1 races. He seems to think he could win any kind of decent race over kind of 14 furlongs. So the Gold Cup, I think there's still a question mark about that. I think maybe that's pie in the sky. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see him on the flat, won't it? But what a weekend last weekend. I mean, Sergino just sitting in his stable is now 7-2 second favourite for the Unibet Champion Hurdle. Who would have thought that? So yeah, a crazy week last week, but just glad that Constitution Hill seems sound, and we look forward to the next chapter.
100% him and the new Lion. Glad to hear they are both safe and sound. Graeme Rodway, you're always there for a strong opinion. Where are we going to see that horse next, do you think?
Yeah, well, he can't run him over hurdles, can he, next? Let's be honest about it. I mean, God forbid something were to happen to him, next time out over hurdles. He'll never forgive himself, will he, Nicky or Michael Buckley? So, I don't see any scenario where they take a chance with the horse's welfare and run him over hurdles. I just think it's too risky. I think he's well worth a go on the flat. I mean, we've just seen Ethical Diamond win a Breeders' Cup turf, haven't we? Yeah, I mean, he was an hurdler. And Constitution Hill was much better hurdler than Ethical Diamond ever was. I mean, that's what I'd do with him. I forget the Gold Cup, though. I'd run him over a mile and a half or a mile and a quarter. I think he's that quick. He's got a real high cruising speed. That's his has always been one of his big assets, hasn't it? The way that he goes through his races. He travels so strongly. And I actually think that that's better suited to races that run at faster pace on the flat, over a mile and a quarter and a mile and a half. I actually think staying races on the flat tend to be won by horses who often don't travel as well as he do, but can quicken really well at the end of their races, like Kyprios obviously being a good example of one of those. So if I was Nicky, I'd be going for the Breeders' Cup turf next year. Come on, we're all aboard the plane to America.
Breeders' Cup turf. I think he's in Kentucky, actually. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's Graeme Rodway's opinion. Matt Rennie, you sharing that or not?
I'll go far close to my wonderful home in York and go last Saturday in August. Ebor. Go for the Ebor, as we saw Ethical Diamond. And then you could go for the Breeders' Cup, as we saw with Ethical Diamond this year. But 14 furlongs at York, that's where I go. I'm in agreement that he needs to run on the flat, to be honest with you. It's just, you can't be taking any risks in today's modern society as well, with the spotlight on the sport. If God forbid something awful was to happen to Constitution Hill now, and as Barry Geraghty rightly probably was most correct about it, he's so indecisive coming into an obstacle now. It's a recipe for disaster. So I'll look forward to seeing him in the last Saturday in August in the bright sunshine at York Racecourse.
Okay, yeah, go on, Ed.
Yeah, I just got a story because 2 or 3 years ago I met up with an Australian customer of ours, and we went to the River Cafe, and I was there to give him some tickets for Cheltenham and say hello to him. and his horse is in Australia, ridden by Jamie Spencer. And we were waiting to be seated to our table when I said hello to Jamie. He's with us, he's our guest. And we sat next to Michael Buckley's table. And literally, Jamie and Michael obviously had success with Toast in New York, didn't they, in the Breeders' Cup? And so they know each other. And later on, we asked Michael to join us for a drink. And for an hour, we were talking about how he's going to win the Melbourne Cup with Constitution Hill. Jamie obviously knows all about racing in Australia. This Australian would love him to come over. And Michael Buckley said it'd be a lovely thought that they could do it. But how are they going to get him handicapped if he's running in these top class 2-mile hurdle races? And also, he didn't like probably wouldn't like it really fast. So there was a discussion even back then about this horse going on the flat. But I will say, I think Verdana Blue is a good example of Nicky with those sort of horses. As Matt's saying, that ran in the they come fourth in the E-Ball. He ran very well in the E-Ball. And she made her debut on the all-weather at Kempton. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Constitution Hill start in the all-weather at Kempton.
Yeah, no, maybe the all-weather marathon championship. I don't know whether that's feasible. You never know. There's plenty of races and plenty of options potentially for that horse. Right, let's focus on Saturday then, gents. Get straight into the racing. Like I say, Sandown, it really does feel like the start of the Christmas racing period, and we will kick off with the big race there. The 3 o'clock is the Tingle Creek Chase, Grade 1 contest over 2 miles, and Unibet currently have Ilete Toms, the 8-11 favourite. Loda Sud is 5-2. John Bon is 7-2. Liberty Hunter 22-1. And Boot Hill, the outside of the 5, at 50-1. A small field. It often is for a Tingle Creek, but always quality in the field for sure. Matt Rennie, it's a really interesting one. Loda Sud obviously defeated John Bon in the Schler at Cheltenham recently. John Bon might not have been fully fit. He loves it round Sandown. He loves this race. But Ilete Tom, Willie Mullins once again coming over and trying to take out the Tingle Creek. What do we make of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute humdinger, isn't it, for the small field we've got. I'm firmly in the Ilete Tom fan club and have been for a long, long time. I think he's been criminally underrated throughout his whole career, really. And now he's getting the recognition he deserves. I think he's completely bomb-proof for Saturday. If you wanted a horse to be made to run around Sandown, you'd make him, really. You know, to do what he did last season in the Celebration Chase. He floored John Bon, to be honest with you. He absolutely floored him in his own playground. So I know he's odds on, but I simply cannot look past him. You know, Loda Sud will probably be next best. That was really, really good at Cheltenham. I think no one expected him to do it in the way they did, and they went some gallop that day as well. It's just whether they could keep it up against a horse of the caliber of Ilete Tom. I have huge reservations about John Bon now at 2 miles, like really, really huge. I almost think we weren't concerned enough with his comeback run. You know, he was beaten out of sight, and I actually thought going up to the top of the hill, he looked outpaced, and Nico was more eased on loosening his reins to go get him cajoling along. I think he's just a 2.5, maybe even a quick 3 miles in a King George sort of horse now. So I can just see Ilete Tom being far too good for them, and hopefully starting to get more of the well-deserved recognition he can get now.
Yeah, I do. I think he's a worthy favourite for sure in this field. The one thing, Mr. Graeme Rodway, is John Bon somehow seems to keep thinking this 1-2, 1-2, 2-1 form. Keeps it up all the time. Never outside the top 2, yet he's third in this market. What do you reckon is going to happen in here?
Yeah, he was very lucky last time, though, wasn't he? He would have been out the first 2, but the horse that was second made a bad mistake at the last, and he was lucky to keep that record. But I can't have John Bon personally. You know, I was disappointed with him when he was beaten by Ilete Tom here in April, given he's got such a great record around the course. And he was even more disappointing the first time back at Sandown, when I actually thought Nicky wouldn't run. I think I said on this show, didn't I, that I could just see Nicky putting him out. But fair play to Nicky for running him. But I wonder if that almost told me something about maybe what he thinks about John Bon, if you know what I mean. Like, if John Bon was still one of his real stars for the season, would he have run him there? Would he have pulled him? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But anyway, he was massively disappointing and sticking cheek pieces on him, which is never needed in before, has he? I mean, he's always been a very, very powerful traveller. I think that they think that he's gone personally, Henderson. And I think they're searching around for something that might spark him back to life, and the cheek pieces are. And what they're going for, I think it's between Ilete Tom and Loda Sud. I think Lord of Sud will give Tom a real good race because he's going to be nice and prominent, won't he? Harry will give him a good attacking ride around Sandown, which often is the way to win races around there over 2 miles. Paul Townend will have to wait on Il Tom. He is a hold-up horse who comes late. So I think it'll be a cracking race. I find it very difficult to pick between them, Sam, and I'm not going to have a bet in the race, just going to watch it, but I think it's between the top two in the market.
Yeah, it's not so much your old saying, is it, anymore, Graham? Mullins never misses. It's now Skelton never seems to miss. So it's going to be a real tough one between the two of them, isn't it?
Mullins doesn't miss, yeah. I think the problem is that Mullins doesn't miss in the spring. But Skelton, we need to come up with a Skelton one, don't we? But Skelton doesn't miss at this time of year, does he?
He doesn't, no. Ed Nicholson, your main man, Nicky Henderson with John Bon in this field. Are you going to be sticking by him, or do you think his days are done?
No, I think Graham's showing a lot of disrespect to John Bon. I really do. He's actually trying to win this for a third consecutive year. Plenty of horses won 2 of these, but only one other horse has won 3. That was Flagship Uberales, who incidentally won it for a different trainer, a different jockey every single one of those 3 years, bizarrely enough. But John Bon loves Sandown. We've had one disappointing run, and everyone's been writing him off. I mean, if he hadn't run at Cheltenham, what price would he be here? You can look at it like that. I know Graham probably won't because you say, well, he did run badly. But I don't know if he did run badly. He was given the winner £3. He needed the run. Soft ground accentuates performances. He was lost by 15 lengths. I wrote down in my little notebook, want to be taking Lotus on next time because to the eye, it looked really impressive. But there were reasons. The second, as you say, just came on. John Bon obviously needed the run. The third made that horrendous mistake at the last, Matata. So I think it probably looked better than it was. So I want to take on Lotus Sud, but I have got that horse wrong before, I must admit. I want to be taking on Il Tom as well, because although I agree he's an underestimated horse, like Matt was saying, he's only been favourite 3 times in 16 races. It's incredible, really, when you think about his record. It's three Grade 1 victories. But he has won all those big races after a long break. And I'm just surprised they've run him not long ago over 2 mile 5. Was it 30 days ago? If you look at all his big wins, they've been massive. And when you talk to Willie Mullins or you see in his comments, they always say he's best when fresh. So I think there's a chance to take on Il, especially at odds on. I think John Bon, each way, 4-1, is one of the bets of the season.
There you go. Okay. Got to vote for John Bon. I'm going to be tentatively in the Il Tom camp with Matt, I think. And Graeme Rodway is undecided between the top 2 in the market. But yeah, John Bon, is he being underrated? We'll have to wait and see on Saturday. It really is a cracking race. Really looking forward to seeing the 5 of them line up at 3 o'clock there. And talking about horses who could be potential future champion chase stars, Nicky Henderson has got the favourite in the next race we preview, which is the Henry VIII Novices Chase. Another Grade 1 over 2 miles, the 150 there at Sandown. Where Lulamba is currently the 8-13 favourite with Unibet for Nicky Henderson, Nico de Boinville. Be aware for the Skeltons 4-1. Lump sum for Sam Thomas. He can't miss at the moment. That horse is 9-2. And Al Nahalam is 7-1. Got to be careful I say that name. But we've got another 4-runner field. We've got some top quality horses in here. Graeme Rodway is this one for Nicky Henderson to be taken out with Lulamba, who did look really good on his last start.
No, I don't think Lulamba's going to win. I wasn't that impressed with his jumping first time up at Exeter, if I'm honest with you, Sam. We're going to quote our old friend from the Postcast, Matt Gardner, former handicapper for us, now handicapper in the BHA course. He used the phrase that I like, that I thought I saw a bit from Lulamba at Exeter. He's a bit boxy over his fences. Like he jumps them like a box, like he's up and down. He's not fast. He jumps them up and then he's just down, and he's sort of a bit steep. And I think he's going to be a much better horse over further in time. I think he's going to be a 3 mile chaser in time, Lulamba. Yeah. For sure. Because he doesn't jump like a 2 mile chaser to my eye, and he's a very strong stayer already. As a result, I think he might find this a bit sharp around here. It's a tight enough track around Sandown, and if you're boxy over those fences, there's loads of them, 7 straight down the back. I can see him getting himself in a bit of bother and being under pressure coming to that pond fence. Now, whether he flies home like he does in trademark fashion and gets back up, it's possible, but I reckon he'll be trading a lot bigger come the third last fence than he is at the start of the race, and for that reason I have to be taking him on. And I'm all over Be Aware. who's another Dan and Harry Skelton runner. This horse has got course form. He was second of 20 in a big handicap here over hurdles, and he jumps well. He's a really good jumper. He's a really quite quick, fast jumper, and he really put July Flower under pressure at Cheltenham last time. He didn't miss a beat the whole way round. Be aware, he was given a really attacking ride by Harry Skelton, and I was so impressed with the way that July Flower brushed him aside. I actually backed July Flower for the Arkle after that race. Of course, that was before Kopek the board came out and looked like a machine, so not looking like such a great bet now. But nevertheless, I remember being very, very impressed with both of those two, Be Aware and July Flower. And I think Be Aware, get out there, Harry will give him a nice attacking ride from the front. The birds agree with me, and I think he's going to be difficult to catch. Be Aware.
Oh, didn't realise you had birds. I knew Paul Keeley had birds. I've heard them in the background of a show before, but Graeme Rodway's also got some that agree with some of his big decisions. Matt Rennie, it is an interesting race. Lambert was, he was impressive enough, but I agree with what Graham's saying. He will be better over further. But the next two in the market, I actually think Lump Sum. I thought, this horse looked really impressive for Utox the last day. Went from the front, pressed the leader. And this is a front-running track at Sandown. And Sam Thomas, like I say, he's in quality form at the moment. The form of that race, yes, it wasn't the best race at Utoxeter, but it has turned out to be okay. I think Ben Pauling's horse, Vanderpool, that the horse beat, actually came out and finished second to it was Noble Park of Nick Henson's in the Constitution Hill colours at Lingfield last time out. I do think there is a case to take on Lambert here, but you may disagree.
You're speaking my language with Lump Sum. You're very much speaking my language. I was really taken by him at Utoxeter last time. Obviously, in Jax Jr., who he absolutely thrashed, has come out and since absolutely bolted up at Kempton as well. I think he's no mug of a horse, is Jax Jr. I know the camp there rates him highly. So I'm probably not going to have a bet on this race, and it would be a watching brief. But if I was to, I'd take a chance on Lump Sum. I wholeheartedly agree with everything Lou Lambert said. I think he's going to be a terrific horse over 3 miles. Most of those, not even the winners of the Triumph Hurdle, but those that run in the Triumph are usually far better stayers. Tiger Roll per se being the most extreme of the examples. You say Sandown's a hell of a test to have on your second start over fences. I'm quite surprised he's actually turning up here. I thought Nicky might have gone down his tried and trusted route and gone for the Wayward Lad and obviously chase at Kempton on Boxing Day. So maybe he feels like this could be a sort of a career, not defining, but a really notable step in where they go afterwards with it and getting good match practice in. But I've been so taken by Sam Thomas's form this year. It seems like a few of them, unfortunately, on the Saturdays have been hitting the crossbar a little bit. Celtic Dino, Vincenzo. It just feels like we're just waiting now, and it's a case of when, not if. And I'm firmly hoping it will be with Lump Sum on Saturday.
Okay, the one key thing I'm taking out of this, Ed Nicholson, is that the two guys and myself are taking on Lou Lambert at 8-13 at the top of Unibet's market. Obviously, has been well supported. Do we think this horse will be well supported on day, or could we potentially see a drift on this horse?
On what he's achieved on that one run over fences, he shouldn't be 8-11 against this field. But included in that price is the potential of the horse. And I've spoken to Nicky and Nico quite a lot over the weeks and months, as you know, for Unibet, and they've always held this horse in the highest regard. And Nico actually said of all the other kind of 2-milers that he sat on, the greats like Altior and Shiskin and John Bon, this horse feels more like a stayer than those. He said that early on, so it's quite interesting what the lads are saying, because it's true. I think he will be a 3-mile. I really do, but. This race is at the beginning of their careers, and he's a 4-year-old. 3 4-year-olds have won this race, and good 4-year-olds, staying horses have run well. Bristol de May came second. Now, you wouldn't say he's a fast horse, but as a 4-year-old, Bristol de May came second in this race. So I think you can get away with it because you're getting the allowance. If you look at the weight he has to carry, 11 stone 1 compared to the others, he's getting weight. I think arguably he's the most talented horse in the lineup. And I think at the end of their careers, he'll have a much higher rating than any other horse in this race. So it's just a case of whether he can do it on second run at Sandown on Saturday. So, 8-11 is probably too short on what he's done, but it's not. I think we'll look back at this in years to come and think, how did he go off at 8-11?
Okay, so you'll be stuck with him. You're quite happy?
Yeah, no, I think he's got everything. Yeah, over 2.5 would be a bit better, but I think everything apart from that, he's got in his favour. He's got the weight allowance. He's from a stable that love this race. We talk about the Wayward Lad, but Nicky does run his best horses over this. He ran John Bonn in 2022 to win this before he won. Obviously, the Tingle Creeks. Altior won this 2 years before he won the Tingle Creek. And Captain Conan, who was a Grade 1 winning novice, won this race en route to winning that race at Aintree. So, yeah, he likes his race for his best horses. I think Lulamba will put in a dazzling display, and everybody will be thinking that he's the next John Bonn.
Okay. It's just interesting, Sam, what Ed said there, because I remember Bristol running in that race. I've beaten this many times, as probably most people who live around London have. It's one of the best, isn't it, of the winter. I think Bristol May is actually quite a good example, because he obviously ended up being a really good staying chaser, 170 plus rated, but he was thrashed by a horse called Armad, who was rated 150. So I think that could be exactly what happens here. I think Ed's right. I think Lulamba's going to be by far the highest rated in the race, in 2 or 3 years' time. But I just think on the day he might be found out by an Armad, a horse that could be rated £20 below him by the time they finish their career. But just on this day, Be Aware might just be a bit too quick for him.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, look, the 2 races that we've just previewed there, a 5-runner race and a 4-runner race, despite them being small fields, they have got some real intrigue and quality to them. So really looking forward to them. The one I'm a bit disappointed about in the field size is the next race here, which is the 3:35, which is the London National Handicap Chase, which is just over 3.5 miles. Where O'Connell with Unibet's the 5-2 favourite, Ask Brewster 11-4, Tanganyika 7-2, Invincible Now for the Gary Moore team. I expect them to have a fair day on Saturday 6-1, Hung Jury 7-1, Jupiter Alen is 11s, and Rivers Corner is the outside of the 7 at 12-1. When you have nationals, you always expect at least to have 8+ runners in a race like this. So it is a little bit disappointing for the London National. It is competitive though, Matt. Rennie, who do you like?
Yeah, I've always been in the O'Connell camp. Think there's still more progression to come over these extreme staying trips. He was beaten quite a long way in second in the Ida, but I thought he was quite an eye catcher, and that early in February, earlier this year, probably would set him as good stead for these kind of races. Again, not a massive opinion on it, but purely because of the field sizes. Really, it's disappointing, and the BHA need to do something about the fixture list here, because we've got a London National over 3.5 miles. We've got a Becher Chase, which understandably people are going to try and target that over the national fences. And we've got the Welsh Grand National Trial at Chepstow on the same day, a 3-mile staying handicap chase. So it's 3 races for a pool of horses, which you don't necessarily all need to have on the same day. And obviously I think there's a staying handicap chase at Cheltenham next week as well, and then you've got the Silver Cup at Ascot, and then you're into the Christmas period. So it just seems quite oversubscribed is the wrong word, but there's too much there, and we could do with fine tuning it.
100%. But yeah, O'Connell, the one for Matt Rennie. Graeme Rodway, who for you in the London National?
I think Ask Brewster's a really interesting horse. He was very impressive when he won at Chepstow, but he's quite tight at the price, isn't he? Now, yeah. Would you say he was 11-4-ish with
7-2? Yeah, 11-4. Sorry, he's currently with Unibet. Yeah, well supported. It says here.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of form on good ground, which it might not be that bad at Sandown, but I'd rather back one at a bigger price. I think Gary and Josh Moore might take it out with Invincible Now. They love a winner at this meeting, don't they? I remember going back a few years, them absolutely, farming it. And this was probably had a bit of a pipe opener for this race, you'd say, over an inadequate trip, and he ended up winning it, didn't he? First time out, it was over 2.5. I was surprised he won, but I mean, it was a small field, and maybe he's just improved a little bit. He definitely improved going back up in trip, and he's got some form around the track. So yeah, the prices I'll be backing Invincible Now, but I do respect Ask Brewster. I think he's probably the best horse in the race long term.
It's exactly how I looked at it, Mr. Rodway. Exactly how I looked at it. I'm going to be with Invincible Now, and I do like another Gary Moore horse on the card, but I won't mention that yet. I'm going to take plenty of stick at the end when I go to nap the horse up. There's probably enough clues to who that could be. Ed Nicholson, you've got a strong fancy in this London National for yourself.
Yeah, I really fancy Tanganyika, Venetia Williams. We all know it's one of them written laws, isn't it? Venetia Williams this time of year, nationals, soft ground, what's not to like? The one thing not to like, and Graeme mentioned this, is her form doesn't look great. RTF on Racing Post is 28%, which is not what you're looking for. But if you look behind those figures, she's had 2 wins from the last 2 weeks, but from, I think, 18 runs. But a lot of those horses have been big prices. So horses that are kind of expected to run well have been running well. I think she's, as always, it's like clockwork. A horse is going to come into form now and January, and she'll win some big races. And this horse is a classic case. November ran at Cheltenham in a big race. Marble Sands won it and was tanking along at the top. In fact, he was doing too much. I got to catch up with Charlie Deutsch at Chepstow and just asked about him, and he said he was just doing a bit too much in front, and he'll come on for the run. And you can tell that by just watching the race. He was there coming into the turn, but failed to finish 5th. He was on 140. Venetia won this race with a horse off 140 in 2022. That was Quick Wave. She knows she's very good with these handicap chases. She knows where she is. And as I say, she's got a fantastic record. Strike rate of 20% in December. Going back all the records I did to the turn of the century, I think it's chases. She's got like a £67 level stakes win if you back every one of her horses that are staying chases, i.e. over 3 miles in this month. And it's stark. When you look at the other months, you know, unless you get to November, December, January, there's no positive. So, yeah, I really fancy this horse. Putting his best performance when second in the Midlands Grand National. That was unbelievable. He looked like he was going to beat Mr. Vango, almost outstayed the outstayable Mr. Vango there. I think he's got a lot of potential, still a relatively young horse at 7. And I really think he's got a good chance. Ask Brewster, it did look good last time. Evan Williams got a terrible record at Sandown. I think it's about 6% or something. And O'Connell is definitely a horse you've got to look at. Landed a gamble in this race 12 months ago, I think. So, yeah, O'Connell would be a bit my worry, but yeah, Tanya Naka, I think, would be, if I can pronounce it right, would be the one I think that everyone's got to beat.
Okay, Tanganyika, Fred Nicholson, and Unibet will be best industry price on this race from Saturday at noon. So you will not see a better price around from Saturday at noon o'clock with regards to the London Nationals. Do head to unibet.co.uk for all the terms and conditions there. One race that is on ITV that we haven't looked at is the 225, which is a handicap hurdle. Really good looking handicap hurdle. I do like the look of this. It's going to be a real competitive race, this. Unibet are going to be super boosting in this race. Is that right?
Yeah, we're super boosting this race. A couple of races on the ITV card that we're super boosting. This is the one at Sandown. Dan Skelton wants to win this race, doesn't he? I think he had 4 in the 5-day entries. I think he's got 3 in it. I think he's got 3. I had a quick look. And obviously Knickerbocker Glory will be the standout horse, I think. But my eye was taken to Glenn Bray, who was entered both here and at Aintree. This is over 2 miles, but he won over the course a little bit further, I think, last time. When he landed a bit of a gamble. Actually, we talked about the race, I think, on the Postcast. Again, he's a very interesting horse. Toby McCain Mitchell is their conditional. And he won on this horse last time, and I think that's one of the reasons they want to get him back on again, get the fight, get good chance in this race. I think he's a horse that's going to keep on improving. He's won 4 out of 7, and I know they think a lot of him. So yeah, Glenn Bray for me.
Okay, there you go. An extra selection in the 225. And in the 120 at Sandown, there's a reminder with regards to Unibet's offers, you will be able to have to their website for all of these, but it's money back if second or third in the 120 at Sandown on Saturdays. Do head there for those offers. Right, we're going to be looking at a couple of races from Aintree shortly after this. Yes, welcome back to the Racing Postcast, brought to you by the Racing Post, sponsored by Unibet. Do head to the Racing Post website and down in the description for that Racing Post Plus offer you saw in that advert there. On to Aintree then, gents, and we start off with their big race there. In the 240, it is the Becher Handicap Chase, over 3.25 miles. Mr. Vango, we've already discussed his name. He's the 9-2 favourite currently. Gallia de la Toe and Gabbaro is 6-1. Bioluminescence is 7-1. Right Rhino is 7-1. Western in the Park 15-2. Bill Baxter 9-1. And it is double figures about the other 3 in this race here. Who should I go to first? Graeme Rodway. This is always a difficult staying chase over the Grand National fences. We may have a few clues for the Grand National. Who do you like?
Yeah, it's a cracking race, isn't it? I think it's the best race over the national fences outside the national, personally, even including those other ones that they run, around the track at the national meeting. This Mr. Vango, right? He reminds me an awful lot of an horse called Young Kenny. Ed's bound to remember Young Kenny. I can't remember who trained it. Can you remember who trained it, Ed?
Was it? Yeah, it was the Young Hustler colours, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah, it might be. I can't remember now. But he won. Do you remember he won about 3 or 4 big stay-in handicap chases in a row, I think, at one point. And you don't see that happen very often nowadays. Like usually they all take turns in winning these big stay-in handicap chases. But Mr. Vango reeled them off like Young Kenny did last year.
Peter Beaumont, was that the trainer?
Peter Beaumont, God, yeah, Peter Beaumont. No,
I didn't fame.
I didn't Google that.
Yeah. Jadami was great also anyway. I mean, Mr. Vango reeled them off just like Young Kenny did in one of his seasons. He reeled off the London National, then he won one of those Haydock races, might have been the Peter Marsh, and he finished up with winning that. Is it the Midlands National? I think it is. At the end of the Cheltenham week, you just don't see that happen very often, and he's going to be very difficult to beat again.
Okay, so now on to Matt Rennie. Then, who is your fancy in this year's Becher?
Yeah, I'm with Gabario or Gabba Riot, however anyone wants to pronounce it. He's a bit of a yardstick over these national fences now, and I dare say he's probably just looking at his back form. He's probably surprised Ollie Greenall and Josh Guerrero of sort of how high he's gone, because he was brought from France and exclusively campaigned in Hunter Chases for a couple of seasons, and you don't normally see them coming back from Hunter Chases into this kind of company. I thought he ran a stormer in the Grand Sefton last time out, and this trip will far suit him better. He's only up £1 for his run in the Grand Sefton, which he's been placed in twice now, so we know he likes the fences. It's not the biggest field it could have been in a Becher as well, so maybe that could play into his strengths this time as well. And I think they're great target trainers, the Greenall and Guerrero combination. I'm sure they've had this race in mind for a fair while as the Sefton as well. So I'm all for him. I think he's a very, very strong fancy in mind for the weekend.
Yeah, and they absolutely love Aintree, don't they, this team? Completely agree with that one there. And Ed, every time I come on and host nowadays, I always ask Unibet for an extra place in a race, and this is the one that I want one in this week. Am I getting one?
Yeah, definitely extra place here. 9-2, 5-1 the field over the Becher fences. 13 runners. Be rude not to, really. Actually, to name a former Oliver Sherwood good hurdler, be rude not to, wasn't it? But yeah, this race is a proper race, isn't it? Once again. But I think there's a few negatives for Mr. Vango. I mean, ridiculously enough, I think 3 mile 2 isn't long enough. And I think good to soft isn't soft enough. And I think 12 stone might be a negative as well. So I could see him drifting in the betting because there's a lot of other horses that do have chances, as we've spoken about already. And I'm going to go for Bill Baxter as well. I think Warren Greatrick's horses are in form. He had a bit of a wobble a few seasons ago, but they're really running well. I think he's 64% runners to form. He's had a few winners of late. And this horse ran really well in defeat last time over hurdles, when arguably he would have won at Newbury, but for hashing the last over hurdles on a reduced rating. He runs off, 139? He's won over the national fences on 133. And that day is beautiful to watch the Flying Grey dismantle his field. I think they've got him back to his best. Sam Twiston-Davies, one of the best jockeys riding over the Grand National fences, I think. I think there's a lot to like about Bill Baxter. And 10-1 is a nice price as well, with those extra places available.
Yeah, extra place on offer. So it's 2 votes there for Bill Baxter with Ed and Graeme Rodway there. And I'm going to be in the camp of Gabba Riot. We're going to go with Matt, but I think that price 6-1 is more than fair about that horse in the Becher. The other race we're going to put into our previews here is the handicap hurdle at 3:15 there at Aintree, 2.5 miles for this one here. Where Wellington Arch is 7-2, Rambo T is 4-1, Bear Market 9-2, Axel Authority and Rubber Ball 13-2, 9-1 about Stream of Stars and Sunray Shadow. And again, we're looking at double figures around the rest of the field. A nice competitive race once again over hurdles. Matt Rennie, who do you like in this?
Yeah, I'm with Wellington Arch just. I'm obviously fairly concerned about the fact the O'Neills obviously had the yard was not in shutdown as per se, but they kept their runners off the tracks for a while because they thought something was going around the yard. But I was Aintree when he beat Kopek to me, obviously one of the great talking horses of the festivals last season. Obviously quite a lower mark than this, and I just think that form, however, is head and heels better than what we've seen from the other rivals. He goes well fresh as well, and he ran an absolute stormer at the Punchestown Festival at the end of last season. He was only a place behind Impose Trois, who we know is probably could be one of Britain's, if not Britain's, leading stayers hurdle hope this year. So that's really good form, and it just looks like they found a really good opportunity to get his season underway again. Obviously, I'm approaching it with caution, given what the O'Neills haven't had many runners at all at a time where you want them to be properly firing now in the actual crux of the jump season. But I'm just really taken by him still.
No, I can see it, and you can imagine, like, if they didn't think their horses were ready, if they've had them off the track for so long, they wouldn't be, playing with this horse here and currently top of the market for this race. So I can definitely see the case after that run, especially at Punchestown last time. Graeme Rodway, who for you here in the 3:15?
Yeah, I've not had loads of time to look at this one, Sam. I got through a few runners without getting through the whole field, so it's not a race that I'm going to make a selection in. I do think that top of my shortlist, the ones that I had a quick look at was Rambo T, who finished like a train last time, and he beat a horse called Pagan, who came out and won twice since. Interesting, because Sean Bowen rode Rambo T last time, and he beat James Bowen on Pagan, and now James Bowen's riding Rambo T. So that, I just thought it was interesting. But so I mean, I've not had enough time to have a good look at this race yet, so I'm not gonna give you a selection.
I definitely think Ollie Murphy's horse, I think both of them actually are quite interesting in here. I don't think Brewing Up a Storm, despite being up the top of the weights, I don't think he's out of this with Brian Hughes on board. And Ollie Murphy, another trainer who just keeps firing in winners at the moment. Ed Nicholson, what have we got in this race here?
Well, I don't think you can back an O'Neill horse. I really don't, because of the form of the stable, and I'd be very surprised if this goes off favourite at Wellington Arch. I think it's got drift written all over it. They've only had one runner for a long time. That horse was pulled up last time out. Again, he was 100-1, so you can't really say anything about it. But Sugar Road was pulled up, but they've obviously not been running their horses for a reason. And this horse is a decent horse, and in any other day would have a really good squeak. But I could see the punters drifting, not backing this, and it's a competitive race. And I find myself in agreement with Graeme again. Rambo T won the silver trophy at Cheps, though I was there that day. Always a good race. It wasn't really like the normal kind of winner, because he didn't look well handicapped. He didn't look like he was improving that much. But he's an 8-year-old. Ollie Murphy's kind of eked some improvement out of him, and the way he won there, I just thought there was more to come. And as the form has been backed up, so in what is a really competitive race. I just think Rambo T, who went up £6 for that victory, I think, so he's on 1-4-3 with the excellent James Bowen on board, can win again. But it is a really difficult race, I must admit.
Okay, yeah, you and Mr. Rodway in fair agreement at Aintree on Saturday. The other race that there is there on the ITV card is a really tricky race. Ned, I know you've got something to say on the favourite in this, but it is the juvenile hurdle, the listed juvenile hurdle there, over 2 mile 1 at 205 from Aintree. Treasure Planet, the favourite currently. What do we make of that?
Yeah, it's a difficult race with punters because it's a juvenile hurdle and there's not much form to go on. But I just thought it might be worth pointing out that Paul Nicholls has got a great record in this race. He's won 4 of the last 7 renewals of this race. And he runs Treasure Planet, who won. It was a 4-runner race, but in fact it was a 2-runner race last time. When he got the better in the closing stages, that was a much better performance than on his debut, which again was at Chepstow when I was there, when he didn't jump well, and I seem to remember him not settling very well, and I don't think he went down to post very well. But so that was a better performance, and obviously he's got a great pedigree, being bought from Donica O'Brien. And I just thought that it was interesting that he's running here from a stable that does well. Granted, he's probably had better horses in the past, but this horse looked green as grass last time at Ludlow, not even jumping hurdles, but on the running, when he went 3 or 4 lengths clear, he was looking all over the place. So, yeah, he's got flat form, he's got speed. If he hurdles fluently, which is a big if, I think he could win this. But he is 13-8, so I'm not really saying what the market isn't. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention it. Stable's got a good record in the race.
There you go. Yeah, that's Treasure Planet in the 205 at Aintree on Saturdays. There you go. Sandown and Aintree covered with the ITV action. Do let us know down in the comments who you fancy on either of those cards. We're going to be back shortly after this with any other selections along with our best bets.
Want betting on the horses to be anything but flat? With an app that impresses every time out. You're on. Want to watch live streaming of races in the UK, Ireland and around the globe? And get a chance to win even bigger with 3 Uniboosts every day on any horses you want. Unibet, you're on.
Welcome back to the final part of this week's Racing Postcast, brought to you by the Racing Post, sponsored by Unibet. Sam Hart, Graeme Rodway, Matt Rennie, and Unibet's Ed Nicholson taking you through the weekend's action. We've covered Sandown and Aintree, gents. We've got an extra guest on the show as well with Graeme Rodway's cats. It's like a zoo at your house at the moment, Graeme. I don't know what we've had. We've had the birds, we've had the cats. It's not the best mix I've ever seen, but it's a debut on the Postcast. There you go. Well, those who aren't, those who are listening in can just imagine. But Graeme Rodway's currently holding his cat like an evil Bond villain at this moment in time. But there you go. There is plenty of action away from the ITV stuff, guys. Ed, I know you've got something on Saturday, but I'm going to go to Graeme first because he's got a couple on Friday to give a mention to.
Yeah, it's always a good meeting, this one on Friday at Sandown. I used to go to this religiously as well. And the Winter Novices hurdle was thrown up like many top class horses down the years, including Seymour Business and Neptune Collonge. Paul Nicholls won it 5 times, so I think everyone's looking forward to seeing No Drama this end, aren't they? You know, he's going to be long odds on to win this Winter Novices hurdle, but I think Paul Nicholls has already been quoted as saying that if he's got another star in his stable, then it is this one, No Drama this end. And wouldn't it be great if Paul Nicholls, you know, could I mean, I never thought I'd be saying this, but could get back to the top table? You know, I mean, he's been knocked off his perch, hasn't he, by Dan Skelton and Willie Mullins over the last couple of years. Be great if Nicholls himself could have a top class horse of his own to go to war with against those guys. But as far as betting goes, they're 255 there at Sandown. There's a horse called Champagne Twist, who won the National Hunt Novice Hurdle Handicap Hurdle final at the track a couple of years ago, or might have been last year even. And he beat Pick Rock that day. He's not shown a hell of a lot since, but he bounced back to form when he was beaten by the favourite for this race last time, Hidden History. I think he might reverse the form at this track. He's got a £2 pull in the weights with Hidden History, and like I say, Sandown evidently suits him well. So that's my bet of the day on Friday at Sandown, 255 Champagne Twist.
There you go, bet of the day on Friday for Graeme Rodway. I'm glad you kept that short and sweet and didn't give us a long tail there, Graeme. Ed Nicholson, Saturday selection from Chepstow, please.
Yeah, I was at Chepstow when Ben Solo won, and what was his only second appearance over fences. He jumped really well. That was his personal best. He goes back to the same course. He goes back to the same distance. He goes back with the same jockey. Similar ground. I just thought with the racing of 1, 2, 3, Ben Solo, given that he's a good jumper, might just make all in the 12.29. Would be my best bet on that Chepstow card. I'll be there on Saturday.
There you go. Yeah, plenty of early starts, aren't there, now, with the way that the light goes in the evening. So early starts at Sandown, Chepstow, Aintree, all over the place. Right, let's get the best bets of the weekend. People are dying to hear mine, I'm sure. But let's get into everyone else's first. And we'll start with Graeme Rodway. Best bet for this weekend's action.
150 at Sandown. I think Be Aware's going to really put these field to the sword from the front, Sam. I'm really looking forward to seeing him around these fences. He's such a good jumper, and I think that he can make that count in the 150 at Sandown Saturday.
There we go, 150 at Sandown. Be Aware for Graeme Rodway in that 4-runner race. Matt Rennie, to you, please.
Yeah, 240 at Aintree will go elsewhere. We'll stick in the north for that one. Gabba Riot in the Becher Chase. I just think he's finally got his time to shine over the national fences. It'd be great to see him win it.
I can agree with that on Gabba Riot and the Beach for Matt Rennie. I'm going to give mine up now. It does come in the 225 where Unibet is super boosting the field here. And I'm going to do something that's both head and heart here because I've actually looked through this race. But I think you're going to catch Goshen on his right day on Saturday. I really do. He's currently 14-1 with Unibet. Look, this horse is a course and distance winner. He absolutely loves Sandown. We've already mentioned that his trainer loves Sandown. He's off a pound lower than when he finished third in a 3 mile handicap hurdle here in February. He goes back down to 2 miles on potentially what could be softish ground. Depends on the rain that does get in to the turf at Sandown. But I genuinely do think if we're going to catch him, you could catch him here. They've obviously had this as a little bit of a plan, because the initial plan was to go to the London National ahead of going to the Bet365 at the end of the season. But I do think that this horse could run a mighty race in a field like this, and catching him first time up off this mark could be handy. So that's Goshen for me in the 225, and more of a talking horse than Constitution Hill sometimes, I think he is. And Ed Nicholson, your nap, please.
Yeah, Tanganyika, I can't pronounce it, but in the London National 335, Venetia Williams. She loves a winner over fences, over the national sort of distances. This is 3 miles, 4.5. She's won this race before with a similar type. I thought it was a really good run last time at Cheltenham. Cherry ripe for Saturday. So that's the one for me.
There you go. There are all your naps on screen now. If you are watching on YouTube, you see all the naps on screen. They will be boosted by Unibet. Do head over to unibet.co.uk. There are plenty of offers, as mentioned, during the show. You can see all the terms and conditions here. I can't get over the fact there is a cat that keeps interrupting Graeme Rodway's shot.
Graham's cat's got more chance of beating Goshen over hurdles than Goshen in the race over hurdles again, mate. So just it'll give you some pause for thought, that one.
That's a good one. Yeah, see, the puns are going out. That's great. Big thanks as always to my panel. It's been great being back on the show once again. Graeme Rodway, Matt Rennie, and Unibet's Ed Nicholson. If you do head to Chepstow, you can say hi to Ed on Saturday. We will be back again next weekend. We've got plenty of action, including Cheltenham returns once again before Christmas. So looking forward to that when the action really does get started. So yeah, big thanks to everyone who's watching. Remember to gamble responsibly. Do like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next week.